Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz, and today we're going to be doing another Which is Better. And following my T-34 versus Type T-34, we're going to be doing basically the same thing but with the next tier up, which is the T-34 versus the Type 58. Which is better? As usual, there will be a gameplay segment in this video, so don't click away just yet. There will be a timestamp in the description for the gameplay segment, so you can skip to that if that's all you're looking for. But we are going to be asking here which is the better tank. If someone was to ask me which tank should I get to do better in, and as much as it pains me to say it, it is the Type 58. After the resounding win of the T-34 at Tier 5, between these two, the Type 58 is the better tank, and for one reason and one reason only, which is the gun. And that one reason with the gun is the DPM. That's the only reason this thing is any better than the T-34-85. Otherwise, they are exactly the same tank. So we'll go over the stats, and then we'll go over the stats more in detail as I just explain what makes this tank a better tank in some scenarios than this thing, and then we'll have gameplay, and then we'll have the conclusion as per normal. So yes, I will go over the stats of the Type 58 first, and then we'll go over the T-34-85. We'll just do a quick rundown of all of the major stats that you need to be aware of, with the exact same equipment loadout, the exact same consumables loadout, and the exact and 100% crew. So yes, the basic stats of the Type 58. So going from the top, 1039 HP, 90 frontal turrets, 75 side, 52 rear, 45 front and side hull, 40 rear, 1700 DPM, 7.04 second reload, 128 average pen with AP, 200 average damage with AP, 3.8 second aim time, 0.36 dispersion, 7 degrees of gun depression, 33 kilometers per hour average speed, 16.8 power to weight ratio, 50 degrees of turret traverse, and 47.39 degrees of hull traverse with a 546 horsepower engine. So keep those in mind as we go to the T-34-85. 986 HP, 90 frontal turret, 75 side turret, 52 rear, 45, 45, 40 hull, 1626 DPM with a 7.38 second reload time, 144 average pen with AP, 200 average damage with AP, 3.6 second aim time, and 0.355 dispersion with 7 degrees of gun depression, 32 kilometers per hour average speed with a 16.2 power to weight ratio, 47, nearly 48 degrees of turret traverse, and 51 degrees of hull traverse with a 546 horsepower engine. Now you will have noticed a couple of stats there that are different between the two, namely the T-34-85 has got slightly less HP, both of which are using what's it called? Improved assembly. There you go, for the extra 4% HP or something, or 6% extra HP. I can't remember. But so they're both using that same equipment. So obviously the Type 58 there has got more HP, but also you will notice the T-34-85 is something like 0.01 dispersion more accurate, but it does have a worse DPM by about 100-ish, and it also has got slightly better average pen. It's also slightly slower, and it has got a worse turret traverse for a better hull traverse, I think is how it went, in comparison to the Type 58 here, which, as you can see, has got 1039 HP. It's got a 1704 DPM, purely because it reloads slightly quicker, but it does have worse average pen with its AP and APCR rounds for the same damage, and it does have, about 0.01 dispersion less accurate. And I think slightly worse aim time, but it does have an extra 1 kilometers per hour average speed, slightly better power to weight, I think, and it does have a better turret traverse for a worse hull traverse. But again, that's only by a couple of degrees, so really they're pretty comparable. If you're traversing both your turret and hull, they'll go at pretty much the same. You will not notice that much difference. Honestly, driving the tanks, there is absolutely no difference. There is absolutely no difference between driving this thing and driving this thing in terms of mobility. They are pretty much exactly the same in terms of mobility. However, the only reason this thing is better, as you saw, was because of the DPM. It's got about 0.4 seconds quicker reload time than the T-34-85 with that top gun. If you were using the stock gun on the T-34-85, you will see that the DPM goes up to 1720, and it's got a similar pen in terms of AP, and it's also got, well, it's got 2 less pen with AP. It's got the same average damage and the same 7 degrees of gun depression. And it's also got worse accuracy. The accuracy on this first intermediate, I suppose you could say, 85mm gun is pretty terrible. But the upgraded version is better accuracy and the same real aim time, which is still pretty, it's alright actually. But yeah, so what you've got here is you've got a not quite stock T-34-85 with a fully upgraded Type 58, which means that for some people you will prefer the higher penetration of the T-34-85 because, let's be honest, most medium tanks at this tier have got around 145mm of pen. The only things that don't are the American tanks, really. They've got, again, 126 or 128, yeah, 128mm of pen. In terms of the Fury and Loza Sherman, they've both got, and the Easy 8 as well, with that 76mm gun that has got a better reload time than these 85mm guns, but they do have less pen. So yeah, the Type 58 just doesn't have the same amount of penetration, but it does have, you know, better fire rate because of it. If they were to give this tank a better gun in the same league as this thing, as you can see, this is a much longer barreled gun than this one. If they were to give this tank the same gun as is on this tank, it would not be, there would be no difference, really. It would again be down to which camouflage do you prefer. Do you prefer this camouflage or this camouflage? Because if you prefer having better penetration but for the slightly lower rate of fire, you'll prefer the T-34-85. If you prefer better DPM and to have more rounds going down range in comparison to the T-34-85, you'll prefer the Type 58. That's the only difference. And you can finish enemies off quicker with this thing because it fires more rapidly. However, you will have better luck penetrating tanks, especially at a longer range, with this thing. And that's just the long short of it. Otherwise, they are armoured completely the same. They have pretty much the same mobility. They've got... This thing has also got slightly less health. It's got like 50 HP less or something, which it is considerable. I mean, any sort of HP difference is considerable, at least, because it means you are slightly less survivable when you take hits. But otherwise, yeah, there's not really much difference between these two at all. Like I said, the only reason this thing would be better is the better DPM. But again, because you've got the better DPM, you do sacrifice about 20mm of armour penetration, which you can struggle against the British tanks, namely the British... well, the Churchill for one, if you're not going to have any APCR loaded, and also the AT, you know, the 82, 87, 88s, those sorts of things, you will also struggle against. However, against most things, you know, medium tanks, you'll probably have a fair go at it. So yeah, that's the overview of the stats. Now I will show you two games here. One will be in the T-34-85, which we will lead with, and the second will be the Type 58. And so yeah, let's jump into the T-34-85 game. So here we are. T-34-85, we are on Faust. I didn't have as much luck getting as good of a game as I did in the Type 58, because the Type 58 game was a 1 in 100 really. For me, driving the Type 58 at least. Most of the games would end up like these games, or like this game rather, which, you know, I didn't want to spend ages trying to get T-34-85 games that were in the same caliber as that Type 58 game, so I've made do with this. But we are on Faust. It is a Tier 6 game, the same as the Type 58. It is just a different map. But we are going to head to the A point, which is where the mediums tend to go on Faust. The heavies go towards D and C, and they fight in that little curve bit up the top right, and the mediums tend to go in the bottom left, fighting on A, and then everyone sort of shoots across at each other over mid. That's kind of how Faust goes, I find. So of course, you know, we are playing the medium tank. I'm going to do the medium tank thing. I'm not going to go to where all the heavies go, because I will come up against, well, heavies, which I am not going to do well in. So keeping an eye on people appearing over there, and bang, there's our first customer, the P-43 bis, the Tier 6 European nation medium. And this is not an autoloader. First shot unfortunately bounces off of his upper glacis, because P-43's upper glacis can be a bit troll. Now he backs it up, and then I don't know what happens. He either like loses connection or something, because he just sits there, and so I'm going to start putting shots into his cupola. First one hit, next one bounces somehow. Leo comes around, bounces 150 off me, and then I think, alright, thanks for that, friend. My next shot bounces. Crusader is I don't know, blazing away at him as well, or at least trying his stuff. There you go. P-43 has now reawoken. Next shot does injure his gunner, as you can see, or commander rather, as you can see. Here's our what 0.35 accuracy or something. It's rather inaccurate when trying to snipe something like this P-43. Our next shot misses. Our next shot does manage to hit him. Then here comes the Leo, and well, there's our frontal armor doing us justice. I mean, sloped frontal armor, we can do things. As you can see, he bounces off, I think, our turret. I think he bounced off our turret. But yeah, now I notice we're being outflanked, so I finish off the M6, and then I'm also going to finish off this P-43. Bang, we do take a shot from him, but we do put a shot right into his turret. Now, here comes the box tank coming around, and watch this for a... Look at that. We bounce off the front of a box tank. But we do manage to get around him. Someone else puts a shot into him, and the 12T finishes him off. Now there's just that Leo and that T1 heavy that I can see, and so of course I've got to rush to try and get damage on these guys. T1 heavy comes over the top, put a shot right into his lower there, injure his gunner. Someone shoots at us and misses. I think that's actually the KV-1S missed him. So we come over here, put one shot into the Chaffee. Chaffee detracts the Thunder, who is now reloaded. So of course I am going to charge down the Chaffee. Here we go. Bang, put one shot into him on the move, destroy his engine, and then... yeah, okay, I didn't manage to ram him to death. However, we do manage to get a shot, bang, on that KV-1S. As the Cheeto starts circling him, we're going to come around here, we're going to get one more shot into his upper glacis, and then we ram him for 313, and he gets killed off by the Cheeto. So, yeah, there you go, we did at least manage to bounce some shots there, and we did also do some decent damage, and yeah. We also showed off the accuracy of this gun, especially at range. So, yeah, gonna wait for this to synchronize data. There we go. So that was a second class mastery. We also got cool-headed for surviving all of those Leo hits, as well as high caliber for 2,143 damage done, with a bit of ram damage done in between there. 38,000 credits for 2 vehicles killed, top of the team, which was very nice. Chaffee was highest on their team. There's our Cheeto second in for us. 16 shots fired, 15 hits, 11 pens. So yeah, apart from one shot missed on that P-43, the rest of them all hit and either penned or bounced. We did bounce all of those shots from the Leo, so take that 40 non-pen hits with a grain of salt, because we did bounce a shot from, you know, that P-43, but the rest of them were pretty much from the Leo. But yeah, so there you go. Injured his gunner. We did manage to get his driver. We did a bit of damage to the Chaffee, destroyed his engine. Of course, we damaged the track of that KV-1S as well, with a bit of ram damage. So, yeah, there you go. There's the game of the T-34-85, so now I will show you the game of the Type 58. Now, this Type 58 game, like I said, is 1 in 100. It was a surprise for me, I'll tell you that much. We're here on a Lost Temple Supremacy game, and of course we're going to go to the medium tanks area, which is, I think, base A? I think it's actually base C is where all the mediums go, and then B and A are actually in the temple. No, it is base C. So yeah, A and B are in the temple, and C's in the mediums area. So yeah, I'm going to go over here to the mediums area with our Type 64 rather, and our Sperrpanzer. So the Sperrpanzer is of course going to start capping as he drives through, spots the T-23-3 and the T-37. I come over here and start capping in a minute, but look at this gun depression, look at that. 7 degrees is, yeah, not that great. So we do take a shot from him, then we back it up. Here comes the Cromwell. There's the Cromwell bead. Bang, one shot into him, and then the T-37 comes over the top, gets finished off by a Type 64. We do have that T-23-3 on the flank though, so I'm going to come over here, put one shot into him, damage his ammo. He does manage to put a shot into me, however, he has repaired his ammo. He then misses, and I back it up. So I am going to be aggressive here. I am going to push on him. He is a tier 7 tank against my tier 6 tank. However, I do 220 per shot and he does 160. So there's another nice shot into him. We back up to reload because the more distance we can put between him and us means the less chance he'll get to put multiple shots into us. That one unfortunately bounced. He doesn't manage to get a return shot into us, and we've now reloaded, so we pop out here, miss our next shot. Maybe if I'd been using the T-34-85 and shot at him, that shot wouldn't have bounced. But our next shot does go straight through his gun mantlet, because, yeah, American gun mantlets, they're very nice, very flat, very soft. We do take a shot from the Chiri, and another shot from the Chiri, but then we back up before he can put a third shot into us, and we did put one in return to him, and there's a follow-up, injuring his driver at the same time, so he's now having a lot of problems backing it up, and then the Sperrpanzer manages to finish him off. So, we've won this side. It's just 3 tanks left, the the T-28, the Churchill, and the E-25. So I drive all the way up and down the hill, and we're going to head towards base B because, well, they've capped him. And there's the T-29 now. Watch this shot. Look at that. There's a slight thin piece of armour that we can pen there, but we don't manage to, and then here's the Churchill. Now, of course, we can't pen the Churchill, however, this poor Churchill, I'm going to use APCR on him, because, well, he's sitting there being all heavily armoured. So our first shot does do a decent damage roll, 204, and, well, we're now going to be farming damage off of this Churchill just by using APCR on him. Perhaps if I'd been using the T-34-85 again, I would be able to penetrate his lower glacis, but the front of a Churchill is 152 at the front, so even the T-34-85 with that better pen wouldn't be able to kill him. We put a shot, 2 shots into the front of his turret. We do injure his driver. He bounces his shot off us, luckily hitting us actually with an injured gunner. I shoot straight through the wall because he doesn't realise I can actually shoot through that. It is destructible. And then we pop out once more and put one more shot right through the front of his turret. I didn't enjoy doing that. Using APCR on the front of a Churchill, I didn't want to do that. However, he was going to hold up the general advance. We needed to do something about him. I don't have the HP to charge him and try get around him, which is something that I probably would have tried to do because I'm crazy like that. But instead we do manage to get up here and snipe the kill on that T-29, and it's just the E-25 left. And there you go, one last shot into him, and then someone else finishes him off. So yeah. The only reason we did so much damage there is because we farmed damage off of that Churchill, let's be honest. That was nothing to do with the tank being any better than the T-34-85, if I'm honest. That was just that Churchill being unluckily farmed by my tier 6 medium tank here. Still, it was an ace tanker, and surprisingly a high caliber. Yeah, we were obviously top of the team. Next up was the SU-122-44. The Chiri was top of their team. 19 shots fired, 17 hits, 15 pens. Even firing all of that APCR ammo, we did at least manage to make 11,000 credits back. yeah, we did receive one non-penetrating hit from that Churchill. We did all of the damage to that Churchill. That was a complete destruction medal right there. So if we minus 1,200 damage off of our total here, we will end up with about 1,600 damage dealt, not including the Churchill, which makes it more in line with the T-34-85 game that we saw, because I really don't want to count the Churchill in this. The poor Churchill, I just farmed him by shooting APCR into his armour. It wasn't fun for either party, and it was basically just me seal clubbing that poor Churchill. So yeah, if we minus the Churchill damage off of this, it goes to about 1,600, which again, yeah, more in line with that T-34-85 game. So yeah, there's the game in the Type 58. So there you go. In conclusion, Type 58, yes, is technically better. It has got higher DPM. It's got a higher DPM and slightly better mobility and slightly more HP. But otherwise, they are completely the same tank. So if you don't care whether you have damage or pen, then as to which of these tanks you'll prefer will rely on how much you like the camos for each tank. Really, that's what it'll come down to. So yeah, there you go. The T-34-85 versus the Type 58. I'll thank you all for watching, and goodbye.